This guy I didn't see coming at all. This little fish man, whatever he is. Just kind of like looking at the shadows again and the light, and just kind of seeing something in there maybe. Again, the brain is doing most of the work, so I don't even really feel like I'm really that much a part of this at this point. But if you ever want to just kind of see the weirdest things you'll ever come up with, this is the way to do it. Now, if you want to think about details and things like lights, where's the light coming from? Well, it's going to be very confusing if you're starting off just doodling with no ideas, right? So unless you're planning a light source, and you have a real idea of a vision, or a vision of where you're going to go with something, you better plan that out ahead. Because on this guy's light suggesting that maybe light's coming from this area, but from this guy it's suggesting it's coming from this area. So I can always come up. The great thing about science sci-fi, this planet has like two stars surrounding like in Star Wars, the double moon thing, 2 moons or a sun and a moon going on at the same time. There's always ways to use your imagination to describe that. Or at least make an excuse for it. That's the thing about like watching shows like Doctor Who is like, well, when anything's possible, really, why follow the plot anymore? That's my only criticism. It's an enjoyable show. And I respect shows that play with reality in that sort of way and are imaginative. Skyboats always interest me. It's like that whole John Carter sort of idea. I've always just liked the idea of sailing anyway. So who knows what kind of place this could be? Sailing in the air. What's the atmosphere like? Has it just got just enough humidity that you can swim through the air and still breathe? Is that even possible? Depending on how you evolve, I guess. Now, this is starting to look like it's almost an intentional drawing, but it really isn't. And at what point do I want to go even make a huge sort of, almost to the point of destroying it, sort of move? I've been really kind of interested in graffiti lately. And not just like the tagging of, tagging your name on a dumpster or something like that, but just sort of as an art form that kind of plays with ideas and can make real bold statements in real bold and graphic ways that are very effective, I think. It can be very interesting if, well, I'm not going to be judgmental here at all. I mean, there are some great artists out there that do some amazing work, I think. But so I'm not that experienced with it though myself. So in Tacoma, we used to have a cool place called the Graffiti Garage, where a lot of local artists could go down there. And I never did anything down there, but I like to go down there, and I took students down there at points just to look at some of the art that was going on, because it's one of the great things about it. It's an accessible art form. So whether you like it or not doesn't really matter. People are going to access it the way they want to access it, and their brains are going to work for themselves on some matters like that. But I also kind of like the idea of mixing sort of always like, classical forms with more striking, dramatic modern forms. So, things like just using text with an image, which is, obviously a great form for advertising art, but can also be used in sort of bold and creative ways and thought-provoking ways that, like poetry, can make new meaning, or meaning you never thought of before. When I was a kid, I used to doodle a lot. And so when teachers tell you don't doodle, they're not really understanding what's going on in that process of your mind working there. There is some research that shows basically that doodling actually helps your brain process some very sort of deep, some of those, makes those deeper thought processes a little bit more accessible somehow. And I'm not sure what the science is suggesting for that, or the reasons behind that. I'm not sure it's suggesting anything at all. It just says, hey, looks like there might be something here to explore further and find something out about. I would not be surprised. A lot of, I think of like ancient myths and Greek philosophies and religions and so forth describe sort of the universe coming into formation and form. The universe forming somehow out of the void. And it's interesting that art kind of, I think, at least doodling and when you're coming up with original ideas or original images, how similar it is to all of that. That's all that's really happening here, is just like sort of this mess that comes from wherever and somehow is shaped into something. And the laws of the universe seem to suggest that there's a lot of interesting ways the universe organizes itself, and those things that we call laws, or at least things that we try to describe as laws, are things that we don't necessarily understand, but we try to identify and try to break down and see, try to make sense, because again, that's what our brains are doing. We're trying to make sense of things. So science is a byproduct of that, and so is art. And in many ways, the two can go very much hand in hand. Oh, well, here I go dawdling again, talking and stuff. A lot of ways, all I do is talk. Anyway, I'll probably leave that there.